This podcast is brought to you by Body Armor. DrinkBodyArmor.com. Only you can be better.
Calling it a day, Carrie?
Oh no, there's more.
Like what?
More reps, more steps. More this, more that. More time to breathe. More hustle, more grind.
There's more to Carrie Underwood.
And I should wrap by midnight.
Impressive.
And there's more to Body Armor Light with natural sweeteners, no sugar added, and only 20 calories.
3, 2, 1. You're listening to EPPN's Today with DW.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday night edition of Today with DW. If you haven't noticed, we're going to have a big food town, and I have a guest coming with me into Food Town tonight. Good friend Rob, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Thank you, sir.
Coming all the way from New York City, the hot spots of many things. Hopefully not COVID, hopefully anymore, but many hot spots in the city. If people aren't familiar, Rob and I, mutual friends. We've crossed paths, but never knew we crossed paths for so many years until it was talking with Jeff. It's so funny how we're probably at the same restaurants, same bars and establishments in Saratoga for years and never even realized it.
People you've worked with too, I know them too, so it's funny. Yeah, we probably met and didn't realize it.
Oh, I'm sure we have. I think the last time I actually saw you was when. Because we've chit-chatted throughout the years, but the last time I saw you is when we went down for New York City Comic-Con, and you took us on a nice little tour of some eateries and some wine, and it was like a good time. I forgot it was a market. It was one building, and there was different restaurants in the market. It was a market. Do you remember what it was?
Let's see. We went to the what is it? We went to a food hall.
Yeah.
It'll come to me in just a moment.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But
yeah.
It was like food all around the world. There was a different spot. Every spot had something different. It was really cool. I mean, and then the wine place we went into looked like it was a warehouse.
The Essex Market. That's it.
That's it.
Essex
Yes,
Market.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then when we went to the wine store, it was more like a warehouse with tables. I was like, I'm just like looking up at this shelves and shelves all the way up to the high ceilings of wine. I thought it was pretty cool that they had that. It was pretty neat. We announced the other day that there's a big sponsor coming. We know it's going to be Thursday. I'm going to announce it, but because of that particular sponsor, I figured we'd do every episode. Obviously, you know, Rob and our listeners know that on Fridays. What's going on, Tim? Thank you for joining me. Every Friday is our pop culture edition with Louis Perry from the Angry Geeks. But because of this particular sponsor we have, I wanted to do a segment of pop culture on every episode. So we did a little bit of pop culture last night on the sports edition, and we talked a little bit about WandaVision. And I wanted to get your take on that. If you've watched it yet, what you think, obviously, because there's been huge debates about the first 2 episodes and whatnot. And then let's talk a little bit about Kong and the trailer for that. So what's your take on WandaVision right now?
Okay, so I think the first couple of episodes, or first 3, I should say, were pretty slow. It was a long setup, and I think they may have lost some people, but now I'm just blown away. Now, as a comic book fan, I'm so blown away because of all the Easter eggs. So for people who don't realize, Easter eggs are just like little tidbits of, let's say, clues and information in these movies and shows that basically harken to something else. And I'm just so happy seeing everything. So also, now that we have, I don't know if we can call it Photon yet, or maybe they might go with one of our other names, but Maria Rambeau and everything is such a great character. And she's the first female leader of the Avengers, which is awesome.
And she was also the first female Captain Marvel before Carol Danvers.
Yes.
Nobody knew that. We did say that. I think she's going to go with Photon because I believe in the comics that was the last iteration of her powers, I believe, was Photon. So I think she's going to stay Photon. I mean, you could tell from her costume was black and white, similar to the Avengers costume that she had. Obviously, she didn't have the cape or whatnot. Speculation, and we did talk a little bit about this last night, but again, because I haven't talked to you in so long, I mean, we could geek out for hours. With Agatha Harkness, and as I informed our listeners yesterday, they seem to not know who she really is, but she has strong ties with the Fantastic Four. Now Marvel owns Fantastic Four now, and she was the nanny for Franklin Richards, who is Reed and Sue's son. Now, the speculation was the aeronautic engineer that was mentioned that Monica was going to call. We're thinking it could be Reed Richards. And
But I definitely thought that, but there's another guy too, Adam Brashear, Blue Marvel.
That's true too. He's a lesser character, so that might be something they would use instead of pulling in Reed. And on top of the fact that maybe pulling Reed in that would blow people's minds. If they brought in Reed Richards, that would blow people's minds. Now, Marvel, he's not a well-known character, so using him, and what I like about them using some of the characters like Monica, yes, she's a popular hero, but she's not popular currently, so a lot of people don't know her history. So the fanboys out there aren't going to get upset that, oh, it's not the comic book history character. So I like how they're using those lesser characters and kind of building off what little history they have to make them part of the MCU. I think that's a great move on their part.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is like we've heard about some other characters showing up, and then we've had little tidbits of minor characters in different iterations, whether it's shows, movies, and so forth. And for the fanboys, yeah, we love hearing that stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, definitely.
And the big guys, of course, hey, I would love to see Reed Richards. But if it was some other random scientist here or there that, geeky me knows because I read like some issue of Avengers or the X-Men or whatever comic book about 10 years ago, that'd be great.
Oh yeah, and sometimes I have to go back. I'll watch the show, but sometimes I'll go back and not even pay attention, but look for the Easter eggs. Whether there's a portrait in a painting in a room or something on a TV, I always try to do that every now and then. And the last episode was probably. I mean, the last episode was amazing, and the whole thing was, geek out. I mean, when Wanda grabs Photon or Monica and slams her to the ground and she just lands, I got goosebumps. I'm like, you're gonna get some butt kicking going on here. And she stood up for herself. I thought that was an awesome cinematic moment for them. I thought that was really cool because even Wanda's like, what the hell just happened here?
I mean, it's like what Deadpool said. She had a superhero landing.
She planted it perfect. And the thing is, you also know that there's history with Captain Marvel. There's a history with her and Carol Danvers because when the leader of S.W.O.R.D. says something, she goes, "This isn't about Carol Danvers. This is not about Captain Marvel. We're not talking about her." And she got kind of a little pissy about that. So I'm wondering if they're going to bring her into the big MCU. I wonder if they're going to put her on the big screen.
I think a lot of people would be disappointed if she didn't end up in the big screen in some capacity. That's for sure. Whether it's for her own movie or part of an ensemble, she has to.
Now, there was rumors before we go into the next pop culture segment that I want to talk about with you. There has been rumors that there's no Avengers 5, and then there's Avengers 5, and then there isn't. The rumors first coming out that they were saying that there was an Avengers, it was going to be / the new Avengers, which we know could be the younger versions if there's a time-related incident going on, or are they setting this up possibly for an all-female Avengers cast?
Hey, unfortunately, if you think about like the comic book, I'm just trying to remember now the all female Avengers team. It was short-lived.
Very short-lived.
A-Force, yeah, it was so short-lived, and I was actually really disappointed because I thought it was a great book. So I never got any conclusions out of it. Like, one of my favorite characters is Valkyrie.
Yes.
And then she just dies, basically some other way, and she's just kind of a footnote in the story of basically Thor. And it's like, no, she's such a great character. You can't do that to her. Right.
Well, she's alive now and they're on New Asgard on Earth. So it could be leading up to something like that. I mean, this is total speculation, but if I called it here first, I'm re-recording this and I'm replaying it because we called it here first that it's an all-female Avengers team.
I was thinking if it's going to be Photon, wouldn't it be cool if we got the Ultimates?
Oh, that would be cool. Well, I got to say though, this Marvel Cinematic Universe, has been more of a combination of the regular Marvel comic line and the Ultimates. Pretty much the Ultimate Universe. I mean, it's pretty much the Captain America's uniform is definitely more Ultimates. Thor is a little bit more, not I don't want to say grittier because he's not, but he fits more in the Ultimate Universe than he does in the regular universe. I think it's a combination of that. What do you think?
I definitely think that, but I guess I was referring specifically to a team called the Ultimates.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So it was led by Black Panther.
Yep.
And it also had Photon in it. It had Adam Brashear, and a bunch of other really cool characters. So I was thinking more of the team, but
gotcha.
You're definitely right. I think this is an amalgam of the Ultimates and the regular universe in many ways.
I'm excited. I can't wait. Let's see. Falcon and Winter Soldier come out in a few weeks. Loki just got pushed back till June. I'm really excited for the What If animated series. I'm really excited about that. That's one of my favorite series. That's what I'm collecting now. I'm trying to get all the original ones. The last few years they were doing What Ifs and they weren't the same. And I think they kind of what if them out with all the stories they could do. But the original What If series was some of the best stories out there. So seeing that animated version, I think that's going to be pretty cool too.
I think one of the best things about the What If series in the comics was it was a great way for them to try out new stories. Mm-hmm. And if people took well to the story, then there was a good chance that story could come into the regular 616 universe. And
right.
That's one of the best things about What If. So, yeah, try something new. Let's see what we can do. Change everything up.
Oh, by far. I mean, that's why I like the DC version of Elseworlds. That's their version of What Ifs. I thought that was pretty cool as well, the Elseworlds stories. You know what? Because you're used to seeing your characters every month, you're reading it, you get a fresh change on it. Like, oh, wow, Spider-Man, Peter Parker's part of the Fantastic Four? Well, that's pretty cool. That kind of stuff. Or what was the What If with somebody else was Sorcerer Supreme?
Tony Stark was at one point.
I think Spider-Man was too at one point. I'm not sure.
Very, very possible. I don't remember.
But yeah, so that's my collecting kick now. So if anybody's listening and you got any What Ifs you want to get rid of from the Volume 1 series, I'm over here. And lastly,
you ever read the What If where Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom, their bodies are switched?
Yes, that's a great one.
Like when they're young too.
Yes,
so, yeah.
That was cool too. I was just listening to a podcast. The guys from Comic Book Man, or tell them Steve Ave, I'm sure you're familiar with those guys.
Of course.
Walt, Q, and Brian Johnson. They did a podcast joking on Ming and Mike's. I buy comics. They made one called I Sell Comics as a parody to Ming and Mike. So this week's episode, they went back and went through one of my favorite stories in comics is Secret Wars. They went back through and talked about every issue of Secret Wars. And I believe it was issue 9 or 10 was the first comic that I actually bought. And that's the one with Dr. Doom on the cover where his arm is just burning to hell. And he's like, it's just an impactful cover. I remember buying that off a spinner rack. And if you guys don't know what a spinner rack is, Google it. And trust me. And if you have one, can I buy it? Because they're hard. They're like gold right now.
We need to find an old bookstore, maybe.
Yeah, right. But Secret Wars was for me is probably one, and I might even say maybe except for Inferno for the X-Men series, the storyline there. Secret Wars, I think, might still be one of their biggest storylines to date. I know back in the day they got really bashed by critics because they didn't felt that it was gritty enough, but it's been iconic and it's held true to. I mean, some of the dialogue is a little bit dated, but it still holds true today. And that would be a movie I want to see. That would be a trilogy right there. You could do Secret Wars and do trilogy like that. That would be amazing. Now, pretty much Marvel owns all the characters at this point. They have everybody that they could use at this point.
Now one of the things I remember is like Secret Wars. When it first came out, it was basically a series of books that were tie-ins with toys. And I remember a lot of people would criticize it because of that.
Yeah,
but it was a great story. That's it. Who cares?
Oh yeah,
it was a great story.
Who's laughing now? Criticize them for what? Those toys sold. They started merchandising better than anybody else when it came to comics and toys. Look at the Transformers. I mean, their comics started. Yeah, same thing. He-Man, same thing. All that kind of stuff. So let them laugh. Lastly, though, we were talking a little bit off pod. we love Godzilla, and we've seen the trailer, and there's a couple European trailers out there. And I wanted to get your take on the last one. And we kind of talked a little bit about it before the pod. First time that we've actually really seen, I mean, this is something, I mean, I remember it's in the 60s, actually, they did the cheeky Godzilla versus King Kong, where he's shoving a palm tree down the guy's throat. But out of all movie characters, the mashup, this has got to be one of the most iconic mashups that anybody will ever want to see. I don't think there's a mashup in the same movie universe, I mean, that anybody else would want to see. I think this is the king of all those two team ups, I guess you would say. Yeah,
I mean, if you think about like Universal, they tried to do their monster mashup with the Mummy, and we don't know where that's going now. But yeah, it's just great stories, and people forget that the original Godzilla was not about the monster. It was just basically an allegory of society, of nuclear war, things like that. And I think that's what people forget about Godzilla is it's not about Godzilla. It's about humans. Right. So speculation, obviously it's, Godzilla versus Kong. Stan Lee has always been asked this question, RIP, who would win in a battle versus Captain America and Thor? And Stan would always say they would go toe to toe. They get beat up. The other person would get beat up. But at the end, there was no winner. You can't have two heroes and one kill each other. Godzilla is not a villain per se. And in cartoons and even in past movies, he's kind of a savior for everybody. Maybe a little too big and maybe a little bit misguided or misunderstood. But I feel that they're going to go toe to toe. They're bringing Kong in. My whole theory is they're going to bring Kong in to stop Godzilla. Supposedly they have the Robo Godzilla, and the other monsters, King of the Monsters, are going to come, and they're going to find that the two of them are going to team up and take them out, and then they're just going to go their separate ways. He's going to go take a dive into the ocean, and they're going to put Kong back on the island, and then they're going to be like, "That's it. We had our fun." What do you think? Yeah, I totally think that's what it is. I mean, we know that King Ghidorah, in the last film, they have one of his heads, and I mean, there's a lot of speculation that there's going to be Mecha Godzilla. Right. And I bet they're going to make a cyborg Mecha Godzilla out of King Ghidorah, and yeah, that's the real bad guy. It's other humans. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Aren't we always? Isn't it always the humans that are always the bad guys at the end? Of course. Little strange fact about Godzilla and Kong. Yeah. So the one that we saw in the 60s. Okay. Who do you remember winning? I don't. That I can't really tell you. I don't think anybody was a real one. I mean, Godzilla, I would think. I don't know. No, King Kong won that one. King Kong won that one, didn't he? King Kong won. But here's the thing. King Kong won in the West. If you saw the same film in the East, in Asia, Godzilla won. Oh, really? Yeah. So Godzilla is underwater, and then Kong comes up. Well, he is a fan favorite over there, so I guess I could say. I mean, he's a champion over there in certain parts of the world. I mean, even the cartoon was running for I think a couple seasons, with Godzilla and Baby Godzilla, Gadzuki. I think it was. Yeah, Gadzuki. Oh, that was too funny. Do you remember the Marvel comic books when Thor had to fight Godzilla? I have never seen that, but I've seen the cover of it, but I've never read it. I would have loved to get that. Of course, it just kind of ended in a stalemate. Of course, exactly. They're both kind of iconic heroes. It's like, Galactus is not a villain. He's just he's a force. He's a universal force. Yeah. Yeah, he's a force of nature. All right. Godzilla is a force of nature. Same way. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Let's get into today's show, shall we? We're going to be obviously taking a trip into Food Town. We're going to be talking about the chicken wars are not over. We're also going to be talking, we're going to be hitting some Strange Tales, which is one of Rob's favorites, that and Junk Drawer. And in Strange Tales, this woman should have not taken her wheelchair as a getaway card. Not a good choice. And did you know that Howling at the Moon can put you in the kennel and get you evicted? All that and more when we come back.
Calling it a day, Carrie?
Oh no, there's more.
Like what?
More reps, more steps. More this, more that. More time to breathe. More hustle, more grind.
There's more to Carrie Underwood.
And I should wrap by midnight.
Impressive.
And there's more to Body Armor Light with natural sweeteners, no sugar added, and only 20 calories.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Wednesday night edition of Today with DW. I'm joined by good friend Rob from New York City. We're going to be taking a trip to Food Town together. He is a fellow foodie. Your food is different than my food. I find I love watching you cook because I like to try new things. I'm just not a fan of trying to cook two different things. So I feel like mine is more like how do I want to say this? Home cooking. It's kind of like steak and potato and meatball, meatballs and home style cooking. And yours, I'm watching it the other day. I'm like, but the bolognese was great. But I was watching the other day. I'm like, oh, I want to try that. I'm like, that looks amazing. So you make me hungry. Hopefully I make people hungry. It's funny. People give me crap about, wow, why do you have to post what you have for dinner? And other people are like, can you give me the recipe you just made? I want that. That looks amazing for dinner. So I can't make everybody happy. But anyway, Rob posts pictures too on his Instagram. But anyway, we're going to get right into this. As you know, we always start out with a little bit of the more you know. Today's The More You Know is brought to you by the Glens Falls Shirt Factory. Visit shirtfactorygf.com for all the awesome stores out there. And they're also going to be doing a first thing this year, 2021 Winter Meltdown Spicy Food Day. It's going to be March 20th at 10 a.m. I will have all the information for you by next Tuesday. So I'll see you next Tuesday on the sports edition about what vendors are going to be there. Yes, it's going to be social distancing. Tables will be set apart. So think of it, if you're familiar with me talking about the food truck corral, which is one of the biggest one in New York State every Thursday, which starting in May. Think about the food trucks just moving indoors, and that's what it's going to be. Again, masks need to be worn unless you're eating. Like I said, there's going to be social distancing. But I'll be able to give you all that information and more. But if you need to contact them for anything, go right over to the shirtfactorygf.com. So let's get into today's The More You Know. Today, 21 days until St. Patrick's Day. Are you a St. Patrick's Day kind of guy, Rob, or no?
You know what? I think there's too many amateurs. I am a professional, so it's kind of a little.
I feel the same. I feel the same way about New Year's, 4th of July, and Labor Day. Same thing. They're all a bunch of amateurs. All right. There's 24 days until spring. I can't wait. 36 days. Now, I had to put this on now because this Mr. Tom Greer, who's Mr. Baseball, feels that it's a national holiday. So it's 36 days until opening day of baseball, 39 days until Easter, 74 days until Mother's Day. Start getting your presents now, everybody. Don't let mom down. 96 days until Memorial Day, 130 days until 4th of July, and lastly, 194 days until Labor Day. Today's national holidays. National Tortilla Chip Day. Now, do you have a particular tortilla chip brand, or because some people are pretty particular about their stuff?
You know what? I'm not so particular, but I do like the blue corn chips most.
Okay. Now, is salsa your go-to dip, or do you prefer like a guac or something else?
I would say it's probably more guac.
More guac. I'm more of a salsa guy. In back in the days when I was broke, you couldn't buy salsa, but man, tortilla chips and ketchup actually did the job too. So we got a little bit here. Tortilla chips were initially an afterthought, a simple snack made with leftover tortillas. But these crispy triangles of deliciousness soon became a nationwide sensation. So, and on each February 24th, we celebrate these salty snacks with National Tortilla Chip Day. Whether you eat yours plain or dip them in a spicy sauce, the tortilla chips bring the fiesta to any occasion. A little bit of trivia here. 1940s, they were reduced, reused, and repurposed. And so pretty much 1940s was the origination of time frame of the tortilla chip, supposedly. Now, I would think it might even be earlier, but if it's on the internet, it's got to be real, right? Rebecca Webb repurposes rejected tortillas from the automated line at her workplace in 1994. It was called the Golden Tortilla. Greza received a special Golden Tortilla Award for her exemplary contribution in the food industry as well. In 2003, it's official. The state of Texas declared the tortilla chip as their official snack. And 2010, step aside hot dogs and hamburgers. According to a report from the Snack Food Foundation or Association, tortillas are outselling hot dog and hamburger buns. That is interesting. It also is National Trading Card Day. Now, Rob, I don't know about baseball, but I know you're a comic book fan. Tell me you still have your cards, your Marvel cards.
Yeah, you know what? I never got into the cards.
Oh, really?
Oh. Yeah. I mean, I had some baseball cards that I collected in the 80s, but I didn't really get into it. After like a year, I lost interest. Didn't get into the cards.
I still have.
I wish I did, because I know how popular they are.
Well, it's funny because back then you had the Chromium cards, you had the foil cards, and just like anything that's hot, the prices were going crazy. Where if you get one in a pack and the packs cost $5, the card's worth $40. Now the cards aren't worth squat, but I still have my binders full of cards, and I have an uncut sheet. Girlfriend I was dating at the time, when QFC was selling comic books big online, when Jim Lee would be on there, or Rob Liefeld in the 90s, she bought me an uncut sheet of Marvel cards, and it's signed. So I'm like, still not worth anything, but it's worth something to me. So anyway, trading cards are celebrated today, made of paper, board, or thick paper. Trading cards include a picture of a person, place, or a thing, either real or made up. Like we were saying with Marvel, obviously baseball cards, there were Star Trek cards, Pokemon cards. Even though they're games, they are still collectible trading cards. The picture is usually accompanied by a description and other text such as statistics or trivia. Some of the earliest collectibles were sports cards, and most major sports have appeared on cards. Baseball cards have been the most popular sport cards throughout history. Some can be used to play games known as collectible card games. These games are usually fantasy-based: Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic. Let's see. The first baseball cards made in the 1860s were trade cards for a sporting goods company. By the early 20th century, most baseball cards were packaged with candy or tobacco products. I was not aware about the tobacco products. The most valuable baseball card ever is the T206 Honus Wagner card. It was manufactured by American Tobacco Company in 1909. There are thought to be about less than 100 of them in existence, and one was sold last year for over $3 million. Holy crap.
I can tell you why it's so rare.
Why?
Honus Wagner was absolutely against tobacco. So he told the tobacco companies, stop making these cards of me. So they took them off the shelves, got rid of them. So anybody who got them, it was pretty amazing.
Well, look at that, everybody. Look at that. The more you know, right there. Look at that. We got some more tidbits going in. That's awesome. What else we got? Today is, it's World Bartender Day. Rob, how did you not know this? Did you know this?
I did not. Oh, my God.
You're in liquor. Come on. How did you not know this?
I haven't bartended in years, so I haven't thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah, neither have I. The last time I think I made a drink was in 2007, I think. Yeah, 2007 or 2008. But anyway, every year on February 24th, World Bartender Day celebrates the bartender, one of the world's oldest professions. It's also a day of bartenders to show off their unique talents and creations. While a bartender may seem like a modern profession, they've been around since the 1400s. Most of the first bartenders lived in Europe. They were innkeepers who served spirits and ales to their guests. In 1862, a popular American bartender, Jerry Thomas, published The Bartender's Guide. I had to separate it because it's BAR/Tender's Guide. It is the first drink book ever distributed in the United States. Even during the Prohibition in the 1920s, bartender was a popular profession throughout the country. Through the years, the number of bartenders in the country has continued to increase. According to the most recent statistics, there are over 450,000 bartenders in the U.S. Just over 58% of the bartenders in the country are female. Of course, there are also bartenders in other countries throughout the world. However, some people notice that bartenders are different from those in the U.S. Some of these differences include European bartenders aren't as chatty, and French ones especially may come off as rude. I don't know if that's necessarily true, if it's just French and European. I've met some pretty rude American bartenders. Australian bartenders offer some of the best customer service in the world, as they love to interact with their customers. Bartenders in other countries may not know some of the classic cocktails that American bartenders make. German bartenders never use jiggers, while Australian bartenders always do. And lastly, London bartenders know more about gin and gin cocktails than bartenders in other countries. I can understand that. And that is all we have. There was not much in today in history, so we're going to cut it short. because we got a lot to talk about. Our food is getting cold. As you can see, Rob is sitting in his kitchen there, and I put out a post earlier about the Whopper and the onion rings that I bought for tonight's visit into Food Town. So maybe, you know what, why don't we're going to skip things up. We're going to go right into Food Town, and we're going to skip the Strange Tales first, and we're going to go right into Food Town so we can talk about what we got going on here, since I do have Rob here, who is a main foodie. Now, Rob, now I know you try food all over the world, and you cook a lot of food from all over the world. Do you have just a to-go, I guess, how would I put this? Do you have either a to-go dish, or would I say a theme? Like, do you like Italian more than, and obviously there's American and whatnot. Is there a theme of food or dish that is a go-to for you?
Well, you know what? Probably because of more cultural reasons, but I'm Vietnamese, so I make a lot of Vietnamese dishes as well. So that's my comfort food. So whatever you're raised with, like if you raise on mac and cheese, then maybe mac and cheese is it.
Right.
So forth. Nice. But Vietnamese food is my comfort food, so I make a lot of Vietnamese food. Nice. Like spring rolls, I make to go. I made a whole bunch and I have them frozen in my freezer, so I can just heat them up when I need to and take them.
Nice. Now, is there a go-to dish? Is there like your favorite dish?
Well, let's see. Spring rolls is I would say that's the go-to, but it's not my favorite.
Right.
My favorite is called a tikka, and that's actually it's basically a stewed pork dish with eggs. You have it with rice. It's also made with coconut water and a whole bunch of different herbs and spices too.
Very nice.
I suppose I could write up a recipe at some point, but it's best cooked in. I use my Instant Pot. So,
right.
So you gotta slow cook it over time.
Now, before we get in the car and travel to Food Town, when people ask me for recipes, now obviously Every Plate, visit everyplate.com. I'll give you an affiliate link to receive $20 off your first purchase. They send me packages a few times a month. Now they have the ingredients already there. They write them down for you. They give you the measurements. Usually when I'm cooking on my own, like when I did the beef and the stroganoff, I don't measure. Do you measure? I just kind of wing it and just kind of be like, I'm going to do a little bit of this. Like my grandmother, when she was making, my grandmother's 4'11", Sicilian, had to stand on a milk crate to make sauce. I go, well, what's the recipe? She goes, it's in my head. And I'm like, what? It's just like a pinch of this and a grab of this and some of that. Are you the same way? Do you just kind of experiment a little bit, or do you have it like measured down to the T?
I do wing it, and you have to keep this in mind. So let's say even slight deviations will change. Like, let's say you didn't get the same tomatoes that you had last time. Maybe the tomatoes are heirloom or they're not vine ripened or whatever. Whatever the case, one tomato is very different from another, so that can drastically change it. Maybe one's more acidic, so it's like, I better cut down on this.
Right.
Maybe I should add a little more to that.
Right. No.
So I wing it.
Yeah.
Unless I'm baking something, that's it. I wing it.
Yeah, I can't even bake. I can't even do that. I'll buy the cake before I go bake. All right. As you hear the music rise up, you know what that means. Take a few steps, turn left, past the guy named Hank in a poncho, and you have arrived at Food Town. There we go. We're just getting the music down here, and as you can tell, Rob and I are now sitting in our restaurant, our local Food Town restaurant. What would be your restaurant of choice to sit and chat about food, Rob? Where's your go-to place to kind of hang out, relax, and have some good food?
You know what? I would say I love going to pubs. Mm-hmm. So just any old pub. There's a place called the Copper Still in Manhattan that I really love going to. Huge selection of whiskey, good food. It's pub food.
Nice.
It's not going to be like caviar dishes and all that stuff. It's damn good pub food.
That's what I like. And whenever I've traveled to Europe, and everybody's like, well, where'd you go? And I'm like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, one, I traveled a lot to Romania, so it's not like it's a tourist destination, so it's not going to have a lot of hot spots. But I should say, even when I'm traveling for cons or events, the first two things I look for is a dirty spoon a greasy spoon. I'm sorry, and the dive bar where people are real. The food is home cooked. It's casual. It's not crazy, and the people are real. I don't go if we go somewhere. I'm like, I'm not gonna go to the Hard Rock. I'm not gonna go here. I want to find it. I mean, even in the Mohegan Sun, I'm like, I'm gonna leave the Mohegan. I mean, we usually do stay quite a bit in the establishments of the Mohegan Sun because they do have good restaurants. But I like to leave. I'll take a car. Let's go to the locals. Where do they hang out? That's what I love. That's the real flavor, I guess you might say, of the whole situation.
Yeah, generally, I travel a bit for work, so when I'm at hotels, the only meal I ever eat at the hotel is breakfast.
Yeah,
that's
and even then, I'll take a muffin out the door, but I got to have a greasy spoon. I got to have a mom and pop breakfast joint. I definitely do. So let's see what we got. Let's dive in. Taco Bell is unleashing new fried chicken sandwiches in taco form. Now, we've been reporting on this, and Rob and I have actually talked a little bit about this in past episodes. The chicken war seems to be no joke. And current census says there's a reasoning for this because people are buying less beef. They're buying less burgers. They're buying less beef for home. Seems to be chicken is the new beef from what we're saying. So these restaurants, especially McDonald's, are trying to keep up with Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, obviously. But Taco Bell has finally got into the game. Taco Bell, the chain that casually inverted breakfast tacos by making shells out of fried egg, isn't exactly known for a conventional menu, to say the least. Even its customizable craving boxes fly in the face of fast food bundle meal norms. So it should come as absolutely no surprise that Taco Bell is proudly declaring this latest menu creation is both fried chicken sandwich and a taco. So we joked off pod about the hot dog. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Now, you can see the image. It is bread. It's a dough. It's wrapped up a crispy chicken with jalapenos and a zesty sauce. But so Rob, what is it a sandwich?
I don't think it is because I mean we have wraps. People eat wraps.
Yeah.
So we don't call those a sandwich.
But it is between two pieces, right? I mean, it's folded, so it isn't technically a sandwich again, it's on the internet, so it's real. It's on Wikipedia, everybody. Come on. It's anything between two slices of bread is a sandwich. So who knows?
Well, now in Scandinavian countries, they have, I don't know why, but people say, oh, high fine dining in Scandinavian countries, they have open-faced sandwich concept. It's like, it's not a sandwich. It's basically stuff on bread. I don't get it. It's not a sandwich.
Okay. Well, the debate is still up there, everybody. Put it in the comments below. Is hot dog a sandwich? Or is this new bread taco a sandwich? Let me know in the comments whether you're watching live or after in the audio play. Weeks after teasing the much-anticipated foray into the seemingly endless fast food chicken wars, Taco Bell officially unveiled what is described as chicken innovation that's out of this clucking world, the crispy chicken sandwich taco. As you can tell from the name alone, the fourth meal maniacs at the chain really want you to think of this as both a sandwich and a taco. A T-Bell spokesperson goes even further, boldly saying in an email to Thrillist, it's a sandwich and a taco. It doesn't have to explain itself to be delicious. So there you go. That's from Taco Bell themselves. The centerpiece of the taco or sandwich is the main new crispy tortilla chicken, which features white chicken meat marinated in jalapeno buttermilk, a Mexican-inspired spices, and crunchy crust made with tortilla chip crumbs, then fried. Think fried chicken tenders, but Taco Bell style. I'm not sure how that means, but okay. Mexicans, beyond that, things are a little weird. The chicken comes served in a puffy bread that is shaped like a taco, but it's folded like a sandwich. Figure that out. It ends up looking kind of like a cross between oh boy, here we go. Chalupa, yeah, there you go, and a pork bun. Finally, each one is topped with creamy chipotle sauce, and a spicy version sports jalapeno slices for extra heat. So we joking about this, but have you seen? Now you go out and eat a lot, and you know what's going on in the city. Have you seen anything like that? There's while you're out that more. I'm obviously with COVID, we're restricted where we go, but have you seen throughout the year or so, or even the last 2 years, that chicken seems to be really doing more, is being more popular than beef right now?
I think it definitely is. But one of the things I would say is this is I mean, beef is still selling really well.
Yes.
And a lot of it's being exported. Here's a little thing about beef. So the country of Mexico imports a lot of beef into the United States. The United States imports a lot of beef from Mexico you think that we're just getting it all from Texas all the way to
Right.
Montana,
Right.
but we're importing beef from Mexico. We're importing beef from Scotland. We're importing beef from Australia and so forth, right?
Right.
So it's still happening.
Right. Yeah. When I was while I was researching for today's show, I've also said that, they're saying eating beef overall is kind of healthier. Why they're saying that is because your cows or whatever, they're out, right? They're outside, they're being taken care of, where chickens are in chicken coops. Very high concentration of ammonia because of the chicken coops are so small, and the procedure on how to cook chicken sometimes, or prepare chicken, sometimes is kind of dicey in a way, which I never really thought about looking at it that way, because I love chicken. I think I take chicken over beef most of the time too. I'm talking about burgers. I'm not talking about steak, because I do like a good steak, but I never looked at it that way going, all right, that makes a lot of sense. So I never realized that chickens are dirty animals. I did not look at it that way. So here we go. We're going to stay on with it. We're going to stay on with the chicken wars. And this is also going to tie in with a segment that Rob and I worked on together. Popeye's savage move against McDonald's heats up fast food chicken wars. The hype around McDonald's new chicken sandwich releases is reaching its peak, but some fast food competitors are finding ways to publicity behind the launch to their advantage. Popeyes in particular, who is defending its title as the champion of chicken sandwiches, just pulled a fast one on McDonald's by using its latest marketing ploy to their favor. Now, this is pretty ingenious. It's pretty shady, too, at the same time. After McDonald's announced chickendrop.com, now it's spelled CHKNDROP.com, was a new website where the speediest fans could sign up to try the new crispy chicken sandwich ahead of its drop on February 24th. Popeyes purchased all the other domains. Now, let me repeat this. Popeyes purchased all the other domains with similar spelling to offer fans who landed on those sites their own famous chicken sandwich for free. So if you're a chronic misspeller, you have some guarantee that you won't get a 404 not found message if you spelled their website when you're trying to type in the search bar. You might just find a free Popeyes chicken sandwich instead of Popeye instead. In other words, if you were one of the first 500 McDonald's fans to misspell chickendrop.com, you were redirected to Popeye's website where you could claim a coupon for the freebie. Meanwhile, McDonald's early access capital, which included merch like hoodies and vinyl records, sold out within a minute of activation. Popeyes isn't the only chain keeping close eye on McDonald's new chicken sandwiches. Competitors like Burger King, Wendy's, and KFC have all announced their own new releases in the category since McDonald's news became public in November. It really didn't get really popular. Yeah, November, December is really when it heated up. The chicken sandwich wars are raging on, and we're going to keep seeing this. And this has been going on since 2019. So what do you think of that, Rob? That's pretty shady, but at the same, that's pretty ingenious.
So I have a McDonald's crispy chicken sandwich, right?
Yes.
I went to Popeyes first because I wanted that, and they sold out.
So
I
there
have
you
to
go.
settle on this.
What's going on, Mr. Peter Brock? Thank you for joining us. I hope everything's doing well. Mr. Sam's Diner, I got to come in and visit you. I hope you're doing well. I'm visit you and the girls. So yeah. We're approving the facts here. Rob already said it was sold out, so the chicken wars are real. Everybody's jumping on board. I don't. It's funny, even though it's KFC and obviously Chick-fil-A. When I'm thinking chicken wars, those are the only two that I'm not really thinking of. I'm thinking Popeyes. I'm thinking Jack in the Box. I'm thinking Sonic is now getting on the game. I'm thinking McDonald's. Not that I've never had a chicken sandwich at a fast food place though either. So I might have to go and try one of these. I don't know.
So. Here's something funny in Asia. Okay, the most popular fast food chain in all of Asia is actually KFC. Okay,
really,
and their formula is very different. It's not the same chicken you're getting here in the States.
Right.
It's spicy, and it actually tastes more like Popeyes.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Well, we've reported on that too. Like McDonald's has a lot of restaurants all over the world, and their menu items, and we've reported out in Food Town a few times, of the strange menu items, something you would not expect from McDonald's, but like UK, they got something different. Australia, they have something different. It's part of the culture. You want to cater to your people and who you're serving. So it's definitely, I'd like to try the KFC over there. I just for the hell of it and see what it tastes like.
Now in India, there are a few McDonald's that are all vegetarian.
Oh, no kidding. See, look at that.
Yeah.
You see what you're learning here today, everybody. Look at that. All right. We got some more Food Town news. Mac attacked health bad mom baffles McDonald's fans by turning her Big Mac into a salad. Now, you can Google this. It did go viral. People are trying to stay healthy. You know that I've been really trying to stay healthy for the last 6 to 8 months. I'll have my craving and I'll pay for it the next day. I have my my meal of choice here for tonight's segment, and I'm sure I'll be paying for it later tomorrow, but sometimes it's just so good. But anyway, we all crave McDonald's from time to time, even if your healthy habits prevent you from demolishing a greasy burger. But one health mad mom has left McDonald's fans baffled after turning a Big Mac into a salad while her family enjoyed the real deal. Well, fast food may be delicious, not necessarily the most nutritious. With the infamous burger, a whopping 500 calories per serving. The Australian woman shared a snap of her Big Mac salad on Facebook, which she had made at home. The salad was served in a bowl and had all the findings of the traditional Big Mac burger, including lettuce, pickles, onions, cheese, shredded meat, and in place of the patty. And even for her own, she made her own Big Mac sauce. The homemade recipe was missing one key ingredient, the burger bun, which is ideal for those who want to reduce how much bread they are eating, but not so much for the love of the actual burger. Some love the idea. Some were saying, this is how I eat all burgers now that I can't have bread. That looks better than what you get at Macca's. But others suggested nothing beats the real deal and that a salad doesn't come close to the Big Mac treat. But I've had friends who've done this. I've had friends who've gone to the restaurants and ordered a burger with lettuce, onion, tomatoes, and no bun, and just chop it right up. But maybe that's something McDonald's. Hey, you heard it here. Maybe that's something you should offer your customers, since you're focusing so much on the chicken wars. So we're going to get right into this segment that Rob and I just talked about. This will be our last segment for Futon. This will take us a little bit. But we were talking. We've been going back and forth for a couple weeks. And we always talk about fast food here. And I know because they're funny, odd things that are coming out with the fast food. Chicken wars is a thing. And because of that, I went to Rob and I said, Rob is what do you call yourself, Rob? Are you a wine expert? What is the title that you have?
So I am a wine expert. I have what's called a WSET diploma in wine and spirits, and then I have some other degrees related to wine and spirits as well.
Now, is that the same as a sommelier?
Well, a sommelier can mean a couple of different things. It basically means wine server. So
gotcha.
You don't necessarily need training to be a sommelier, but there are organizations that are called like Court of Sommeliers, and so forth, where it is a degree. So I used to be a sommelier when I worked in a restaurant and I served wine, and I was the wine expert there. But these days I work more on the, let's say, business side of things. Mm-hmm. So I have a very high level degree in wine and spirits.
You have classified clearance level of wine.
Yeah. I'm not trying to knock any organization. The Court of Sommeliers and other organizations, they're geared more towards restaurant work.
Right.
What I do is geared in a different direction.
Right.
So,
gotcha.
Let's just say I have a chemistry degree. So
exactly. Right.
Hey,
listen, good bartenders are chemists. Let's be honest.
You know what? A little thing. Gin was originally conceived as basically medicine, right?
Yes.
So cocktails were developed because, gin on its own was not very good back then, way back when. And it was used basically by the British Navy to give to sailors to help fight scurvy. So They would add different things like lemon, lime juice, and so forth. And that's how you start getting cocktails. So doctors were bartenders.
Nice. Look at this, everybody. This is a full pack The More You Know episode. This is awesome. I love this. So anyway, Rob and I were talking. So we thought, because we were doing fast food, I figured, you know what? Let's change it up a little bit. Now, there's some sites that have done this in the past, and it's not brand new. We're not reinventing the wheel. But I went through some sites, but I wanted to check. Some of them had the same thing, so I wanted to add some of the things. So what we're doing is we're pairing up some really good wines with some fast food meals. Now, you're like, why would you do that? Some places if there's days that, you got your fast food junk on and you want it, and you're like, well, you know what? I want a nice glass of wine to then I class up my meal. So I'm going to have a glass of wine. Now, if you're drinking it out of a paper cup, I'm not sure if you definitely classed it up or not. I hope you have a wine glass. I mean, at least that. But we're going to start off with some appetizers. All right. McDonald's French fries. Now, Rob picked out a champagne, sparkling wine, or a Sauvignon Blanc. So the acidity and texture would balance the oil of the fries. Now, what was I gonna ask? Now, obviously, based on the fries. Now, what if I picked a different type of fries, or is it the fries themselves that
it's the fries themselves how it's prepared? Because I assume that the fries are being deep fried. Okay,
right?
So you have all the oil in it. So think about the French fry. One French fry tastes delicious, that's for sure. Probably you're going to add some salt to it, and you're going to have it deep fried in oil.
Right.
So the oil, think about it in your mouth. It kind of coats your tongue, and that flavor lingers, right? So having something like a champagne, sparkling wine, or Sauvignon Blanc actually will clean out your mouth in many ways. So it's actually more based on texture than anything else.
So you're pretty much, for every drink, you're cleaning your palate pretty much with every sip.
You're cleaning your palate, but also you're not losing flavor too. You're still tasting the fry. You're still tasting the wine, and that's the thing is, first and foremost, when it comes to food and wine pairing, texture is number one. Mm-hmm. Flavor is secondary.
So, like, if let's say we mix one of my favorite wines is a Pinot Noir or a Shiraz. Now, if we mix that with the fry, we would lose the flavor of the fry itself, and vice versa, because of the conflicting salt quantities and the saltiness and the bitterness of the wine paired with the French fry. Correct? Am I right assuming that?
Yes. So with the French fry, you're let's say this, the texture works well with that Shiraz and with that Pinot Noir, but then the flavors start conflicting. Right. That's the secondary part. So first, texture. Number two, flavor. Gotcha. In that case, the flavor's too extreme.
Gotcha. All right. Well, if you want to classen up with your appetizers with French fries, get some champagne or sparkling wine. Another appetizer is going to be McDonald's chicken nuggets. Rob had picked out an oaky Chardonnay or dry Riesling. The woody and buttery taste of the Chardonnay accent the breading of the chicken, while dry Rieslings add flavors will balance the sauces that go with the nuggets. Now, we did not, Rob. I didn't put in there, and I left this up to you just because we could talk about it. Just the plain chicken nuggets. We got the Riesling, but now we have honey mustard, we have barbecue, or let's say you just want to go the straight route and ketchup. Now, will those sauces depend on the pairing for this, or will those wines that you picked, will they work for all of those sauces?
Well, let's say this: the oaky Chardonnay and the dry Riesling will work with a lot of sauces. It won't work with everything, though. Right. So, let's say I do sriracha in, okay? Yeah. Just throw out this nugget. The Riesling would be great, but the oaky Chardonnay, it's not. Because what's going to happen is the spice from the sriracha is going to linger, and it's just going to stay in your mouth. Now, hey, that's great if you love it, but sometimes maybe you're eating other things. You want to taste other things too. Right. So the dry Riesling, similar to that champagne and the sparkling wine, the Sauvignon Blanc, it cleans out your palate. Gotcha.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to some of the dinner meals. McDonald's. Wow. Free advertising for McDonald's today. Holy crap. McDonald's Big Mac value meal with French fries. Now, Rob had picked a Zinfandel or Chianti. The red berry flavors and spice of these wines will balance the flavors of the meat and sauces. The tannin of the wines will also balance the fatty textures of the meat. Now, obviously, texture seems to be very important, especially with what you're saying, the texture before flavor. Now, with that being said, you are eating fries with the burger and with that sauce. That doesn't change the fact of the pick of what you chose.
Well, let's say this. Let's forget about that. It's just the value meal with everything. There are so many dishes out there that have so many components. Mm-hmm. What it comes down to is you can't satisfy every flavor. Right. So go with the main dish.
Gotcha. You're going with the burger, and your fries are the side dish, pretty much.
Yep.
Okay.
So all right. When it comes to texture, I'm going to give you a little chemistry lesson here. Okay. So the hamburger itself has protein and has lots of fat in it, right? So wine. You ever have a red wine that makes your mouth pucker and makes your mouth feel dry, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's actually what's called tannin. So tannic acid. it's actually bonding with the protein in your saliva.
Okay.
So it's basically sucking your saliva into it and bonding with it, and that's why your mouth feels dry. So when you have something with protein or fat, then the tannin will actually bond with that instead of what's in your mouth.
Okay.
So that way it actually balances the texture.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I like that. Well, the next one up is going to be, I got mine right here. A Whopper with onion rings. I did not get the fries. I'm not a big Burger King fries guy. And I do have the zesty sauce. Now, that's usually the mainstay. Obviously, you can get barbecue, whatever, but I do like the zesty sauce. Now, Rob had picked here for the Argentinian Malbec and Chardonnay. Since the Whopper has a mayonnaise-based sauce, this is difficult, he said. Okay. Given the sauce and onion rings, the Chardonnay will balance the creaminess of the mayonnaise as well as the tanginess. It also works with the oily onion rings. The Malbec works with the meat and the flavors of cocoa, and earthiness will balance the vegetables and mayonnaise. Now, with the zest, now obviously the main meal is the burger.
Yep.
And obviously, again, with the texture, with the onion rings, they are a side. Again, will the zesty sauce work with this? Again, we're still going with the main meal, but we shouldn't be really concerned about the zesty sauce. One, it's not that zesty.
Well, think of it like this, okay? Let's just go right to sauce, okay? Let's say you took mayonnaise and you threw in some chipotle peppers, okay? And then you add some other ingredients. You make into a chipotle aioli, right? So what happens? You have the creaminess and the basic qualities of the mayonnaise mixing with the hot capsicum. That's the type of that's what makes it spicy. That's what makes it hot. So that chemical capsicum mixes with it, and they balance each other out in ways. Because if you just have the regular chipotle in your mouth, it's very hot. You have it in the form of the aioli, it balances it out, right? So in many ways, what we're doing is Argentine Malbec specifically. Malbec is originally from France, but Argentine Malbec is aged in oak barrels, and it develops a certain quality that reminds me of lots of spice, it's cocoa, almost tobacco. It gets very earthy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually going to balance out that zestiness, almost like an aioli.
I got you. It's a good contrast.
Exactly. And the Chardonnay will actually work with the mayonnaise as well, because it's going to have fruity flavors that balance out that zestiness, but also a lot of Chardonnays are usually aged in oak for a while, so they have a little bit of tannin for a white wine, and that'll balance out the protein and the fat.
Well, so Chardonnay, I know friends will, when we go out to have sushi, whatever, we'll drink wine. I always drink a Pinot Noir with the sushi, but there are a lot of sushi dishes out there that do have a mayonnaise or a creamy base to them. So the Chardonnay would work as well there in many forms of sushi as well then.
It would work. I would say this. Usually I want to have sake. That's for sure.
Yeah, of course.
I want to have a beer, usually like a lager or something like that. Balances really well with sushi. But Pinot Noir, if let's say you're having fatty tuna, you're having salmon, a lot of people think you need to have white wine with fish. Well, right. You know what? My favorite pairing with tuna and salmon, because they're heartier meats with fish, is Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Chardonnay, yeah, if you're going to have that mayonnaise base, if you're having a California roll, things like that, yeah, it totally makes sense. It does.
Cool. All right.
Generally, yeah, I want to have sake. That's
sake. I've had sake in a long time. Oh, good sake. All right. Next up, one of my old favorites, which I try to stay away from quite a bit now, is Taco Bell. Back in the day, if anybody knows me, it was 2 or 3 times a week. I don't know. I used to have an iron gut, but since eating healthy, the last time I had Taco Bell did not do well. But that doesn't mean that they're not. I still have cravings, and it tastes so good. Taco Bell, 3 soft shell taco supremes meal. So that's just pretty much sour cream, lettuce, tomatoes, cheese, no side. Rob picked a red. Is it red Rosé?
Rhone.
Red Ronin. Okay, wine. And rose wines. Red wine wines are a good proportion of syrup, are blends that are generally of Sierra are blends that are generally will have red berry flavors with white pepper and a medium texture. The wine balances the fat in the meat as well as the sauces. If the sauce is hotter, a rose wine acts in a similar way to the Rowan wine as well as balance the spice. So we did not put, like, again, we did not do the sauces for this. We kept these pretty basic. Obviously, when I would be getting a taco soft shell, it's going to be the hot sauce. It's not going to be the fiery sauce. It's the one in the middle. So that might affect the wine flavor a little bit depending on how hot it is, I would assume, correct?
Definitely, yeah. So remember, texture was number one, right? But
Correct.
you can add extreme flavor. So I'll use an example of something like if you're having let's say a porterhouse, okay, you probably want to have some big Cabernet Sauvignon because there's a lot of tannin in that Cabernet Sauvignon. It bounces out the fat and the protein in the porterhouse. Let's say I took hot sauce and drenched that steak with it. I would never do that, by the way. But let's say I drenched in hot sauce, then I probably want to have a white wine because I need to clean out my palate so I can actually start tasting everything again.
Right.
Rosé wines. I'm trying to get all local like you are.
Yep.
This is a New York State wine called Macari. So this is a rosé wine. Rosés, people don't realize, they are sort of like the best of both worlds, red and white. You get certain qualities from both, so they actually pair with a lot more foods than reds or whites.
Gotcha. Okay, nice. Now, what are you having before we get into the next one? I'm going to run through the few of the other ones pretty quickly. And what are you having with your meal tonight? What do you have on your table there?
You mean wine-wise, or do you mean food-wise?
Both. I know.
Okay, so
what are you pairing
your
wines up? Because you have a few different items there. So what are you pairing up with?
Okay. Well, Pinot Noir is your favorite, so I'll mention this. This is called it's California wine. It's called the En Route Russian River Valley Pinot Noir. So this is, let's say most Pinot Noir is known for being light. This one is going to have more body to it. Like if you hear someone talk about wine and they say body, think of it like this: something lighter is going to be like skim milk. Then something that's full body is like whole milk.
Gotcha.
And then you have like the 2% and all the stuff in the middle, right? So that's what body style's like.
Okay.
Heavier wines, whole milk, you would have with some heartier dishes. But again, you can change that by throwing different sauces on, different herbs and spices, and changing the flavors.
So what do you got? What else do you got there, Rob?
Okay, so this is a Chardonnay. It's the Buena Vista Chardonnay. This is Californian, but it's made more like a French wine.
Okay.
They age in French oak for a short time instead of American oak. When you hear people talk about oak barrels, it's actually a big deal because, let me use an example of whiskey. Whiskey comes out white when they distill it, when they ferment it and distill it, and then they put it in a barrel. 95, maybe whatever percent of flavor comes from the barrel because it's leaching off some of the different chemical components of the barrels, phenols, some of the acids, lactic acid, so forth, from the barrel and actually developing flavors. Now, the barrel is also charred. So something like Jack Daniels has a smokiness to it because it's in a charred barrel.
Gotcha.
Wine, thus, same as whiskey will develop a lot of flavors from the barrel, but you don't need the barrel for the flavor. That's actually a different reason. They age it in the barrels mainly. They do get flavor, but they also age it so that when it takes on some of the qualities of barrel, then you can actually age the wine longer in bottle form.
Okay, cool, very nice. And what are your meal pairings? I know that you got the Popeyes chicken there.
Well, no, I couldn't get Popeyes. Remember?
That's right, McDonald.
So yeah, I have the McDonald's crispy chicken.
Okay.
I have my Big Mac.
All right.
French fries.
French
and then
fries.
I have some chicken nuggets.
There you go. Look at that. So you have all the food and all the wine all right there for all your pairings. Look at that. You
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm on some medication plus some hand, so yeah, I can't drink the wine right now.
We'll have to revisit that another time. But anyway, let's get into it. Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich meal with French fries. Rob's picked another Chardonnay dry Riesling, obviously with the woody and buttery taste of the Chardonnay accenting the bread of the chicken, while dry Rieslings add flavors will balance the sauces that go with the nuggets. Now, this one was a little bit off the beaten path. but I wanted to put this one on here. Panda Express Kung Pao Chicken. Now, Rob, I have no idea how to pronounce either one of these names of these wines. Do you remember what you picked?
Yes. So I said a Gewürztraminer.
Yes.
And also a Viognier.
Okay.
So both of these are great varieties that are known for being very aromatic. So any of these wines, if you popped open the bottle and you stuck it on the table, everyone smells it. And they smell of like tropical fruits, hints of pears, apples, different things. Gewürztraminer actually has a little bit of spice, not hot spices to it, but almost like baking spices, and it pairs well with the Kung Pao chicken because you're getting all the sweet and the sour flavors. Viognier is going to have sort of like a melon quality, think like honeydew, apples, citrus, and that also pairs well with the sweet and sour from the Kung Pao chicken.
So it wouldn't be as sweet as like a dessert wine per se, though, correct?
Yeah, these can be dessert wines, but not necessarily. So dessert wine, when I describe like the fruity flavors, I don't want you to think it's sweet. So think of it like this: a lemon is fruit, and it's not sweet. Right. So if you have cherries in season are quite tart. I mean, out of season are quite tart, but in season they're quite sweet. It's still a cherry though. So the fruity flavors, people usually think sweet, but they're not necessarily sweet.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's move on. Obviously, this is a mainstay. Obviously, how can you not have the list of pairings without pizza? I did pick Domino's, but it could be any pizza you want. Pizza Hut, whatever pizza. But I did pick my favorite when I have pizza is pepperoni and onion. Now, obviously, with wings. So we figured this: if you're gonna have a couple of glasses of wine, you're gonna have some people over, so you kind of make it a little party. So Rob had picked Chianti and Bordeaux. The wines have enough tannin to balance with the fat of the cheese and pepperoni. The berry flavors of the Chianti are well suited to the meat, and the Merlot base of the Bordeaux will do the same. Now, the chicken wings were obviously they're not the main dish, but I mean, it is like a smorgasbord or a buffet type style. Now, we talked a little bit about the spiciness of sauces with the wines. Will these two wines still be all right with texture and taste with the chicken wings or no?
I would say it's not ideal. But again, I just kind of had to pick the main dish because when it comes to these combinations, you're never going to settle everything. Right. So I picked the Chianti. Sangiovese is the name of the grape used to make Chianti. That's a region. And then Bordeaux is a region, and it's made from 5 different types of grapes. It's red. Okay. But a lot of Bordeaux actually have a Merlot base to it, depending on where they're from. And Chianti and Bordeaux, depending on what they are, will generally have certain darker fruit flavors. Okay. And with it, they'll balance out some of the flavors of I guess different things you have in the pizza. But at the same time, these wines are generally aged in oak barrels for a while, so you develop that tannic acid, and that will balance out the heavy fat that you're getting from the cheese, especially. Gotcha. So the pepperoni is not the main thing I'm looking at. It's actually the cheese.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that's the major covering of it. Okay, that makes sense. We're going to go right into a KFC family meal bucket of chicken with mashed potatoes and biscuits. I don't care what anybody says. Well, maybe minus Red Lobster biscuits. For some reason, I do like those biscuits, but for some reason, I don't know if it's the way I was brought up, but they have the best fake mashed potatoes in the world. I don't know what it is about those things, but I do love their mashed potatoes. Robin picked an Oaky Chardonnay and dry Riesling again. So I guess with these flavors, the Chardonnay and the Riesling seems to be like a universal choice mostly for a lot of these. It's
with a lot of chicken dishes. I should say.
Okay.
But in this case, I looked at all of them individually, but what it comes down to is the chicken from KFC is not as spicy as let's say Popeyes, for example. So you don't need a lot of things to balance out the spice as much. But you're going to be surprised by this, but I mostly picked the Oaky Chardonnay because it balances out the biscuit.
Oh, really? Okay.
Also, I mean, it works with the mashed potatoes and the chicken, but the biscuit is think about just eating a biscuit on its own. You get that heavy buttermilk flavor, right? Yep. So certain Oaky Chardonnays, people describe them as being buttery at times. They're not always, but they have a certain buttery quality. It's because malic acid is what you get in grapes, one of the main components. And when it sits in a barrel for a while, it turns to lactic acid. So lactic acid, you have milk and butter and so forth. So that actually balances out. It's like putting butter on a biscuit or putting butter onto your mashed potatoes. And so
Nice. Look at that. I'm learning everything. Look at this. You're learning something in Food Town tonight. Even though, and don't give me any crap about the fast food stuff, people. Come on now. Everybody's got a craving once in a while. You won't listen. If you pair it with wine, you will feel less guilty. Number 8, we're going on to Sonic Chili Cheese Coney Combo with tater tots. You picked a Temperillo. Is it a Temperillo? Tempranillo, champagne or sparkling wine. The Tempranillo has enough tannin to balance the fatness of the meat and cheese. The chili has strong flavors that will balance with the dark berries, strawberry and coconut flavors of the wine. The sparkling wine will balance the spices and texture of the meat and cheese and not lose flavor. So there's a lot to think about. Not that I don't really think about it, but now that when we're talking, that texture really could change the way everything maybe even tastes at that point, or how your body's reacting to whatever the meal is. Correct? Am I assuming correct?
For sure. So the Sonic Chili Cheese Coney Combo with tater tots, that was a tough one because
there's a lot going on there.
The chili and the cheese into it, that changes everything.
Yeah. So
Tempranillo is a Spanish grape, and generally Tempranillo on its own will have like a bit of a strawberry quality to it. But in Spain, they like to age Tempranillo for quite some time in American oak barrels. So what happens is American oak will pass on sort of a coconut flavor onto the wine. Okay. French oak passes on a bit of a vanilla quality. American oak will do that too, but if you age it for a while, then you get a lot of coconut. Okay. So I don't want you to think it's like I just bit into a coconut. It's very, very subtle. But Tempranillo develops from aging oak, it develops real heavy body. Okay. And that balances out the cheese and everything. But also that coconut quality balances out the spice. And that's the beauty of it. So think of the chili. Tater tots, it's on the side. Now, I do have to say this, though. Champagne and sparkling wine goes with everything.
Okay, there you go. All right, that makes sense.
Because the bubbles, it balances everything.
Right.
So
and that's why it's so popular.
Have champagne, sparkling wine goes with everything.
Well, there you go. If you guys you don't like the other selections, champagne and sparkling wine goes with every meal that we have on this list. So you'll be happy. We're going in now. Subway Philly cheesesteak with chips. We picked a Cabernet Franc and one of my favorites, Shiraz. The wines have enough tannin to balance the fatty meat and cheese. The Cabernet Franc. Is it France? Franc? You misspelled one.
Franc.
Yeah, Franc.
Cabernet Franc.
Cabernet Franc has dark berry flavors as well as green vegetal qualities. The Shiraz has flavors of dark berries and pepper. The Shiraz, I would think, because as we talked before, I like a good dry, really dry Shiraz. And if Pinot Noir with that peppery taste. Now, obviously, some Shirazes are different than other parts of the world. I think you were talking about one of the ones would be from Oregon, and then I think you said there was an Argentinian or Australian one? Was there an Australian one too?
Mostly Australian. Shiraz is very popular in Australia. It's also very popular in France. Right. But in France, they generally call it Syrah. It's the same grape.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, it's mostly Australia I was talking about. So Syrah or Shiraz, the grape itself, when you make the wine, it has blackberry, other dark berries, as well as a little bit of a white pepper taste to it. Mm-hmm. And that's why it goes great with like a cheesesteak. You know, it's going to accentuate it. Now the Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon is actually a cross between Cabernet Franc as well as Sauvignon Blanc. So yes, it was a white grape and a red grape crossed together. But Cabernet Franc has a lot of body, but also has lots of herbs and vegetable qualities to it. And nice. I just feel that goes really well with cheesesteak.
With that pairing. Okay, nice. We got another one here, not chicken, not burger. I had to put this one in. Long John Silver's fish shrimp meal with Alaskan pollock. It was served with 3 pieces of shrimp, one side, 2 hush puppies, and French fries. This was paired with a Sauvignon Blanc. And what was the other one? Is it Chenin?
Chenin Blanc.
Chenin
Yeah,
Blanc.
so Sauvignon Blanc and Chenin Blanc.
Okay.
So Sauvignon Blanc is it actually has a lot of acidity to it. Here's a little thing. Usually white wines are more acidic than red wines. People don't realize that because you have white wines cold. So when you get something cold, the virtual acidity actually drops.
Okay.
So the acidity of it will actually cut through some of that, let's say the oil from the fish fry, okay, and the shrimp and everything. But also the acidity is going to bring out more flavor. So think of it like this. A lot of meals when you have at a restaurant, you might get a lemon or lime on the side. Or if you have a cocktail, you get a lemon or lime inside. You're supposed to actually squeeze it in. It's not just for garnish. It actually serves real purpose. So acidity brings out more flavors because it opens up your taste buds.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the Sauvignon Blanc, the Chenin Blanc serves a similar purpose in that sense with the acidity.
And no, people, he did not say you put the lemon in the wine. You don't squeeze the lemon in the wine. You put it in the sauce. And lastly, this was Rob's pick. And he said because he couldn't get it because it sold out today, Popeye's spicy chicken sandwich. It was served with a rosé or Pinot Noir. The spiciness of the chicken changes the pairing. The rosé and Pinot Noir will balance the heat with the lighter body style and the bright red berry flavors. So hopefully people are getting informed here. And I'm sorry if some of you may be bored and this is an unconventional food town, but this is what food town's going to be. Rob and I are probably going to do a podcast once a month just about food town. We're just going to take a dive in, but I'm interested in this because one, I do cook and I don't drink a lot of wine, but talking with you the other day about which wine you were giving me some brand names and ones that I pick out for when I casually have a bottle or whatever. Now we know that there's different regions of Pinot Noir, different regions for wine. So there's obviously with the Pinot Noir is the same thing. Each region tastes a little bit different. So does it really, are the taste differences or the, what do I want to say? The categories of the wine or the flavor of the wine or the particularness of the wine make much of a difference between regions, or is it just a straight Pinot Noir?
Yes. So Pinot Noir is a great example of, there's a concept called terroir. Okay. So there's no exact translation, but basically it's all the factors of the region where the wine comes from that contribute to its flavor. So Pinot Noir we're assuming it was originally a European grape. All the grape varieties for wines come from Europe and the Middle East. So we're assuming it is probably European of some sort. Anyhow, Pinot Noir in Burgundy, which is in many ways considered the home of Pinot Noir, has certain flavors. But you bring it to Oregon. Now, Oregon is going to have cooler temperatures. Also, the soil is quite different, and you're also going to get more moisture.
Gotcha.
And then you have, let's say, California. California is much hotter, and they make Pinot Noir there too. So Pinot Noir is a grape that has very thin skins, and because of that, you don't want it to be someplace too hot. So I don't drink a lot of California Pinot Noirs, although I do have one here. The reason is because the heat will actually burst open the skins, and the grape will basically lose juice and so forth. And then you have New Zealand, let's say. New Zealand gets a lot of Antarctic air as well as lots of sunshine. So sunshine gives you, in many ways, more sugars, more fruitiness, but also cold air gives you more acidity. So Pinot Noir is the hardest grape to grow, and by region, it varies the most because of how thin the skins are. So it mutates constantly, and it takes on the flavors of the region.
Nice. So it's that kind of what you were describing when I was doing. I don't remember if I put it in Strange Tales or in Food Town on the winery, the vineyard over on Easter Island, where especially when it was near the volcano, that you said that was probably some of the most I don't want to say organic, but most uninhibited soil over there. That it was really good soil over there compared to maybe wherever else you are in the world.
Yeah, and there's also other factors too. So back in the 1800s, there was a blight called phylloxera, and it actually destroyed a lot of different grape crops in Europe. And what they did was they started taking American grapes, taking the vines and cutting the roots out. and basically grafting it onto European grape varieties, grapevines, so that they could grow, because the American grapes were resistant to the blight. So certain places, we were talking about how on Easter Island, somebody planted that way back when. So that means this is the original grape, and unaltered from basically grafting with American vines. I mean, you find this in different places as well, but it's not very common. Like Argentina, Chile, you find some of these grape varieties which have not been altered because they're planted so long ago and they were never affected by the blight.
Now,
and Easter Island's one.
Could it be that these could be a new flavor or a new version or a new type of like? I mean, we don't know what the.
Let's say an old one.
What's that?
It's more like an old one.
Yes, yes, yes. I know what you're saying. But is it possible to have a new flavor, or is there even a thing anymore that we're going to come out with something brand new? I mean, is there ever like anything like that in the wine world?
Yeah. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, you have guys in let's say in Cornell, for instance, at the agricultural school, they're creating different mutations here or there. They're doing different grafts and basically playing around with the DNA in many ways of the grapes themselves. USC, they're doing a lot of it. I mean, not USC, UC Davis. You're seeing it in a lot of places all around the world. But besides that, you're also finding like these lost grape varieties. Like there's a place in Lebanon. Okay? Lebanon, of all places, it used to be a French colony, and there's a place called Chateau Kafraya, and they have grape varieties used to make Bordeaux, and they're unaltered. So the thing is, that's more Bordeaux than Bordeaux.
Oh, no kidding.
Bordeaux's changed in the 1880s, basically, and that's like Bordeaux before the 1880s. Or you have Chile. You have a grape variety called Carmenere. They used to think it was Merlot down there, and then somebody saw it and they said, "Oh my God, this is the lost grape of Bordeaux. This hasn't been seen since the 1800s."
Wow. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to do some more research on the Easter Island one, because I don't believe they told us what grapes were there, but they said that it was just outside the volcano, and there's just thousands and thousands of vines. So God knows, I'm sure they've been touched. I'm sure, as far as I'm sure somebody made the wine before those guys got there. I'm sure that they weren't not making wine or using the grapes, but I'd like to know what they plan on doing with that, because that's interesting. Great marketing right off the bat. Easter Island Winery. I mean, definitely. And we're going to finalize up with a dessert. Can't have a meal without dessert. And we figured, you know what, we're going to stay with the one thing. And obviously I don't know if there's any other restaurants that offer fast food restaurants that offer dessert. All I could come up with the McDonald's apple pie. So we have picked Moscato ice wine. The sweetness of these wines will accent the apple pie, though the texture of these wines is light enough not to overpower the pie. Now, before you get into the explanation, Rob, I was actually shocked that you picked this wine. One, I'm not a fan of Moscato because I think it's too sweet for me. But I thought that, and correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, I thought the sweetness of the Moscato would take away from the sweetness of the pie and be kind of conflicting a little bit, because it's the same region of the tongue and it's going back and forth. I thought I would lose flavor, but you say no.
Well, you're probably thinking something like port, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so port, think of the texture, it's so heavy and so thick, right? It's almost like molasses. And that actually overpowers the pie.
Okay. Gotcha.
So Moscatos and ice wines are going to be a little bit lighter than port, so you can actually still taste the pie. But also, Moscato and ice wine generally have hints of apple to the flavor, and it goes well with the pie. Now, I know you don't bake, but some of the best pies are not made with sweet apples, like Granny Smith's, ones that are sour.
Okay,
and you can always add sweetness, but you can't subtract it very easily.
Right.
So taste an apple pie sometime and really forget about the sweetness and think about it, and you're going to get a lot of that sour, a lot of that acid.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I forgot my mom, once again, one of the many recipes that was always in my family's heads, and I could never figure out how to make my mom's apple pie. but I can remember how it tastes, and there is always a little bit of sourness in there in a good way, not in a bad way. There's a little bit of it in there, and it kind of counteracts with it's almost like the after flavors. Sometimes depending on how you bite into it, the sweetness comes in and then it's the sour, and sometimes it's kind of like the sour first. So it depends on what part of the pie you're eating. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that.
I like port with apple pie too, but I kind of prefer the others. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Moscato, you say it's sweet, right? Not all Moscatos are sweet.
Okay.
Depends on how you make it. So all wines, whether it's red, white, rosé, the alcohol level determines how sweet it is.
Okay.
So alcohol is a byproduct from basically fermenting starches, sugar. So if you have a low alcohol percentage, then generally it's going to be sweeter. If it's going to be high, it's going to be drier. So just remember, high and dry, sweet and low.
Gotcha. That's why moonshine is so strong.
Yeah. And now ice wine's a little
all.
different though, because there's always exceptions. They basically froze the grapes, partially froze it. So whatever was extracted from the grape is going to be the sweetest juice that you can get out of it.
Well, all right, everybody, we're gonna travel now. We ended our food town segment. So that was kind of fun. That was probably the longest version we've done of Food Town, the longest visit, I should say. I had a great time with the visit. We sadly didn't get to our strange tales, but we'll save that for tomorrow because we went a little bit longer on this segment, which I thought was great. I hope you guys learned something out of that. And again, don't be afraid to get a bottle of wine. Listen, I know people drink Peels still, and they still drink that stuff. And I know we're talking wine and beer is different, but don't drink Peels. Just don't buy Peels. I can't believe it's still in production. But
sometimes we can talk about beer if you want, because honestly, beers probably go with more foods and wines.
Well, it's funny.
People hate me saying that, but it does. So.
Oh no, it definitely does, and we can definitely do that. We were back. This was a while ago. Let's see. We were in 2021, 2020, 2019, 2017, 2016, 2015. I want to say 2010 or 2012. Don't quote me on the year, but it was when the gastropub started to really take flight, where it was on California, then coming over to the East Coast. And that became, on top of the gastropub, but also the microbrews, that became very big of pairing flights of beer with your meal. Where before it was the wine pairing, obviously the real wine pairing, not the fast food. But again, you can class up your fast food with a good glass of wine. That's a huge, when I was talking to you about the wine, I was thinking the beer as well. As we can probably do a beer one. That could take a long time, because there's a lot to describe on beer and many options. Like one meal could have 3 different versions of a beer that would still go well with that meal. It depends on your flavor and what you're talking about and what you enjoy. But yeah, we thought, my friend Judd and I were thinking even back then about maybe opening up a gastropub. Thank God we didn't, because now we see COVID and everything else that happened on. But I would love to do that down the road with beer pairings. That would be a good Food Town segment as well. Because I was going to ask you today, what beer is there? Coors Light probably could serve all of these meals in here. It's like Coors Light's like the champagne. Well, Budweiser's the champagne of beers, but
no, it's Miller High Life. Miller High Life is champagne.
Oh, that's right. It is Miller High Life. That's right. Not Budweiser.
Budweiser's the king of beers.
That's right. I don't drink beer, so see, there you go. I don't. But anyway, that would be a good segment down the road for us to do. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this extra long. You got an extra 28, 30, almost 30 minutes of episode with Rob and I. You guys got to enjoy us geeking out in the beginning. Rob, thank you so much. Did you have a good time? What'd you think? I know you watched the show on this side. How'd you feel like being behind in the backstage?
It was great, I have to say. And besides the food and the wine, I love geeking out with you.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no,
geeking
that's
out on pop culture, yeah.
We'll do it again. If I ever need a guest on a Friday night for a pop culture edition, definitely will. We've got a lot of pop culture news coming up, so that'll be fun. I guess that's it, everybody. Before we go, I want to say thank you to our sponsors tonight. Obviously, it's always Body Armor, drinkbodyarmor.com. It's funny, I have a 3:00 morning voice when I say it, but I don't now. This podcast is brought to you by Body Armor. See, I have that 3 o'clock in the morning car salesman voice. You want to buy a car? It's 95 hits, 95.9 love all night long. I don't know why I do it like that. But anyway, drinkbodyarmor.com. Visit the website for a location near you. They have a brand new line called Body Armor Edge. Now, Body Armor is a sports drink. They've never categorize themselves as an energy drink. Now, this Body Armor Edge is now their first foray into the energy drink arena. We reviewed it on Tuesday when Tom had his share. We sent Tom a 4-pack sample. He loves it. He thinks it's great. He did not get paid for that endorsement. He'd tell me off pod if he didn't like it. But they are one of our sponsors. Check them out. Their flavors are just coming out now. You can get them on Amazon. I don't know if they're out in grocery stores just yet. I'm sure the big cities have them. I haven't seen it where I am here in upstate New York. But definitely
I got some at Rite Aid a while ago.
The Edge?
Not the Edge. Oh, so not the Edge. Sorry, the sports drink, not the Edge. Sorry.
Yeah, the regular Body Armor. Yeah, Yep, they're everywhere. Body Armor's everywhere. But check them out. We will be getting. I just talked with the head of the East Coast marketing department because they love us. We're be getting some shirts, some more hats, some swag to be given away, and they're going to start filling up my fridge in the studio here with some Body Armor Edge. But we're full right now with Body Armor. They always take care of our podcasters. Also, want to thank our other sponsors, The Shirt Factory. Visit theshirtfactorygf.com as they have a great spicy food festival on March 20th at 10 o'clock. That's a Saturday. Admission is free. And lastly, I can't forget another great sponsor of ours, Chase Sports Complex. Visit chasesportscomplex.com. They just added new batting cages, volleyball courts. They're working on some other great things and expanding the building, and great for indoor activities, social distancing. Everything's there. They're meeting all the requirements. They're allowed to open. You don't want to go outside. You want to just spend a few hours hitting the ball. Chase can do that. You want to exercise and get a run in on the soccer field, you're allowed to do that at Chase as well. So check them out. Again, Rob, thank you so much, man. This was really fun. I had a great time on this episode. I learned. I was like, it was the whole episode of The More You Know. That's what this episode should have been called, The More You Know episode, because it definitely was very enlightening and makes me now really consider. I never realized texture was going to be an issue, and now that is especially when you're saying, a port versus a Moscato, and the thickness of the wine, that the flavor stays on your tongue a lot longer than a lighter wine or not as thick wine, I guess, or as less bodied wine, I would say. I never really realized that. So that's something to even think about if I'm cooking for friends or something, and if they want a wine, I'll have a better idea what to pair with. I mean, I'm not going to have my friends have fast food. Well, sometimes we do, but if I cook now, I'm going to start thinking more about that end of it now. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, you know what? I'll use an example of tea. Okay, so think about, like, let's say you're having some black tea. Okay, it makes your mouth really, really dry having black tea, but once you add some milk into it, then the tannin in the tea starts bonding with the fats in the milk and it becomes smoother. Okay. So food and wine pairing is just it's not just a pairing. We should call it a balancing act.
Gotcha. It's a union. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I will be back tomorrow. We will be diving into the strange tales, as we have some strange tales. Maybe the junk drawer. Probably not another food town. It's hard to try to do one every day because of the topic. So we try to make it very. I think the longer we make it, the once a week or you do it or whatever, I think that is working out pretty well. We'll be also talking about The More You Know. And then Friday, I will be doing a pop culture episode. No Louis Perry again this week. He's got a lot of things going on. Also, big news. You're going to find out who our sponsor is, our new sponsor. So tune in tomorrow because there might be an unboxing as well. So don't go anywhere. We'll be here at 6:30 live tomorrow. Rob, thank you again. Everybody, have a wonderful evening.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation, found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.